And yeah, everyone, this is Thermites, and this is my discussion and redirect for episode 2 of The Rehearsal. If you want to watch the reaction, you can. Please check the first link down below, watch that, come back here, and then I'll be talking about it. Okay, so that should have been enough time for you to watch the entire thing. uh, Boy, really, really weird episode. I mean, I guess I should start off by saying, didn't expect there to be two-parters in the show. Really did not expect that to be a thing. I've also seen the title of the episode. It doesn't have a part 1 to it. So, I gotta admit, a little disappointed. In the sense of both, I was hoping to have in the season, however long it is, to have, that many short little weird rehearsals with as much budget as episode 1, and as much, self-contained strangeness. Also, this episode really felt like it stopped halfway, which, again, makes sense if this is gonna be a multi-parter. I'm still very much into it, don't get me wrong, but I can't hide that. It felt a little weird. Also, just the strangeness of the episode itself is really on that cutting edge of I cannot tell if this is I don't want to accuse it of being faked or anything. The saying is reality is often stranger than fiction, but there's so many things that just feel so weird about it, where it's why would you continue going with Robin, this guy who is so insanely weird, who has so many red flags, who is just oh, I'm probably gonna have sex with this woman who said I really do not want to have sex. Or just the fact that he is so into numerology to an almost to a very, to me at least, off-putting degree, to this degree where it's just this doesn't feel safe. Why would you allow a person like this, who has not been vetted or anything, or who is being vetted in the moment by Nathan, to be a part of this production? It's just, oh, it's so weird. And it's on top of the existing weirdness of the episode itself. We already have the strangeness of the very start here, of the child actors, and the fact that you can only have a child actor working for so long, and so you do have to swap them out. And on top of the fact that presumably they're being swapped out to get older and older and older, it's so weird. It really adds a layer of there's an inherent how do I put this? This is not something I ever think about when it comes to TV shows. If there's a child actor on set, it's yeah, it's whatever. But this being both a definitely a behind the scenes look at well, we do have to do all of this, and we're going to be transparent about it, while also having this additional layer of not danger necessarily, but just this woman does not seem she wants to be here, that she's not that invested in the plot of this. She's not that invested in actually raising a kid. Saying that out loud, it sounds very harsh. I think that comes off actually a lot harsher than I wanted to. But that is the vibe of this. The first rehearsal was very, very focused on, I guess part of it's everyone there was an actor who is fully understanding of what the situation is. I can't believe that they didn't actually get an actor to play the husband. Why in what world would you get someone like Robin to do this? Just a guy. As much as my initial response is to kind of bash Angela for not being committed to this, so much of the problem is also on Nathan. In the sense that he is not really committed to this either. Or at least he was not really committed to the initial concept of, we are going to simulate this woman having a child for 2 months. That is, that also represents 18, was it 18 years? Is this kid gonna grow up to be a full adult? But yeah, it feels like it was flawed from the start from his perspective, and then the way in which he wants to fix it is also insanely flawed and very focused on himself. This idea of stepping in himself as the dad. It makes total sense, especially in hindsight, seeing how he wanted to, his response was, I'll take care of the kid while you're away, go on a date, even if the kid is not, even if you're not interacting with the kid, and therefore we don't have to have an actor doing this in the slightest. I mean, I guess to be fair, that might also be a pay thing. Like, if the the kid isn't acting in the moments, even if they're not filming it, then the mom wouldn't be paid or the kid wouldn't get the money. So I could see why, for the sake of it, like even outside of the simulation of it being for her, they would still have the kids, take on their allotted time for acting. But even then, like, if that's the case, it's surprising they didn't like bring that up as a reason why that had to happen. I mean, there's the additional layer of, Nathan is the director for this. He's the one who gets to cut how this all plays out. He's the one creating the narrative. And so it does actually make a lot of sense that he added in essentially, or, like really amplified the foreshadowing that he was going to become a part of this rehearsal. Which is, I am always a sucker for the, like, here's an experiment and now it's going out of control and how do we deal with this? And this is what that feels like. Like, especially with the Robin situation, like, based on what I've heard of Nathan For You, I actually can buy that they all probably were just like, yeah, we're just gonna get this guy, and if he's a weirdo, that's fine, keep it rolling, let's, show off how strange this all is, and they weren't really thinking about him just leaving. But it's still, like, the thing that really puts me about this one is the fact that it's not that good of a rehearsal. Like, her idea was, I want to consider motherhood. I want to try and, raise a kid in the ideal situation. I don't want to be in my actual apartment. I would want to be out in the wilderness. I would want, like, to be in a pastoral farmland area. I would want, a significant other to help raise the kid. But so much of this is not that. I mean, it was flawed from the very start when they couldn't get a guy to properly make the kid cry, so she would have to get up. Like, it feels very, very different from the core rehearsal, which was so hyper specific. And also, the fact that the core one is very inherently based around getting to an end goal. Like, that is, we will rehearse this one extremely specific point in time, and we have a lot of time in order to do that over and over and over again, as opposed to this, which is very much a, like, for this entire amount of time, we're going to simulate an even longer period of time, so you can have, like, the full experience, but we're not going to end this. I mean, we could end this with you getting pregnant and having a kid and, getting married and all that, but presumably it was going to be more of just a, like, now you've had the entire experience of motherhood, how do you spin that off from there? Like, where do you go from that? Has this made you think that you can, in fact, raise a kid? But yeah, one thing that did, like, after the episode that made me go, like, wait a minute, this feels so rigged, but also it's not obviously a rigged thing. It could absolutely just be, a weird coincidence, is the fact that, that Robin's, car is a Scion, and they named the episode 2, Scion. Because, of course, a Scion is, your heir, your offspring, which is also what this episode is about. Like, it is so extremely on the nose compared to episode 1, which was Orange Juice No Pulp. Like, I can get something out of Orange Juice No Pulp. I can, interpret that as being a, like, I want X, but I don't want Y problem that comes from X. So I want the orange juice of the situation, but not the pulp. But yeah, like, it's not nearly as on the nose as Scion, which is so insanely specific. But at the same time, like, just the fact that, they spent so much time on this guy, and then he was like, no, I don't actually want to be a part of this, and he left, is so wild. Because also, that does work in a simulation, but again, it's not the simulation she wants. This is essentially, simulating what if you lived with the roommates, and then you got married and had a kid, and then that person left you, and so you had to raise this kid with your roommates. Which is very much the energy that, that Angela has with Nathan. Like, they have a very specific, like, how do I put it? Like, Nathan already brought up the whole, like, the inherent power dynamic here that is extremely, like, it's something you can't get past. It is the, like, I am the person who controls your entire world for the duration of this, of this rehearsal. Like, there is no way in hell that you could possibly, just realistically, that you could tell me yes or no without there being an outsized influence. Like, whether that is, I don't want to give up the opportunity to be on the show, or I, don't want to stop the experiments, or I don't want to, like, mess up this big project. Like, that's so much weight. It's just, But at the same time, like, it fits so well with what the episode is about, It is that combination of if someone were to enter your life who has this extreme power, like if you are dating someone and then they leave you and then you end up with someone who is like, a rich person or a successful person, like how does that, like if you are in a situation where you can't raise this kid and then you find someone who can absolutely help you raise this kid, then that's not inherently coercive. But also there is that power dynamic of, well, this doesn't feel quite right. Like you're going to want to end up in this relationship even if this person is throwing red flags at you, even if this is a strange dynamic, even if this could be bad for you or your kid. There is that layer of like, well, I gotta do this though, because I can't do this by myself, or I don't want to give up this opportunity. This would make my life a whole lot better. Like, it's not an exact metaphor, which also adds this extra layer of like, I do believe that this is actually happening. Because it feels like if this was more scripted, then it would be more on the nose. But also, if you scripted it well enough, then it would be less on the nose, so you wouldn't suspect it. I don't want to get too conspiracy theory about this, because I doubt that's what people are here for, but this show is giving me brain worms. I mean, that's also on top of the, like, I do love that they managed to capture her little prayer in there as well. Like, her statement of, but like, they think that they are the ones who are controlling all of this, but I know that's not the case, God. I know you are in control of all of this. In a religious sense, that isn't necessarily wrong. But even if, like, regardless of how scripted this is or not is, like, on top of that, is this not all up to God? Like, there's so many layers to it. I feel I don't have anything super, like, insightful to say about that, but after I spent all of episode 1 calling Nathan the devil, like the actual devil, I feel like I should acknowledge that there's also a big, like, God, like, layer to this episode. Also with Robin, who was way more of a, like, conspiracy religious guy. I guess I just have to directly say that, like, this isn't based on anything in my life, but I am just generally very hesitant about, like, when it comes to, like, numerology stuff or, like, sacred numbers. It gives me a weird feeling. It feels too, like, obsessive a lot of time when I hear people who are really, really, really into it. It feels too much like you are trying to actively unlock the secrets of the universe. But like, I don't know what else to really say. This is so out of left field. I mean, I'm still shook by the fact that this is not ending here. And also, like, Nathan is fully moving in. Like, he's moving in his cats as well. Like, he was in an apartment, and now presumably he's not, like, I mean, maybe they're going to still be renting out that apartment for him. Like, HBO, can afford to do that. But it does seem like, at the very least, Nathan is committing to a full-on, like, I'm going to take all my actual stuff and actually move in here in order to also, like, add to the realism of this. It's that I can also experience the simulation of what it's like to have a kid and to, experience parenthood. Oh, but that's so, I mean, as I said in the reaction itself, it's such a flawed concept because, like, the moment the rehearsal is not about a single thing you are rehearsing, it's going to instantly fall apart. And, like, it has already fallen apart in my eyes. Just in terms of, this is not what Angela asked for in the slightest. And now we're going into, like, also, this is Nathan's rehearsal now as well. Like, it's so compromising. It's so, but I don't dislike it. It's just, I don't know if I have words to describe how weird this is. I think I'm starting to go in circles now, so I think I'll cut this off there. I also think, just in general, this is a really interesting swerve to make, because, in the moment, like, in addition to, like, like, everything else about this, if I do believe that that Robin, was just a real weird dude who really walked out and just really disrupted the whole plan with this, then this is also just a really good swerve for Nathan to take something that could have just been, fodder on the ground. Just like, we tried to do this thing and we invested some money in it and it didn't work out. Now we wasted a whole lot of time and, getting all these kids and all that. Like, if this is a ploy for him to, salvage the show itself, that's also extremely fascinating. Like, especially with, like, what the show has already done with, like, poking holes in the reality of the situation, like, looking at the weirdness of the rehearsals and the inherent, like, I do think one moment that really does stand out to me is the entire adoption scene. where like Nathan is right there telling the the actor mother to like, oh well, can you make this a little sadder, can you say why it is that you're not fit to be a parent. Like there's just there like on top of the actual question I did have in my head, the little conspiracy theory of like, is this a little bit fudged, a little bit faked, there's that added layer of like how much of this is also Nathan overall going, well, this is a show, this is like a big budget thing, I gotta make sure the show must go on. But okay, I think that is it. I apologize if I've just been rambling on wildly. If there's anything that I didn't talk about in this episode, or you want my opinion on it, please do leave me a comment down below. I will respond to any and all comments. I would love to talk about the show. I don't have a place on the Discord server to talk about this stuff, so I should probably make a thing for that. But so if you have Discord, you can go onto my Discord server, check that out. But yeah, I think that is it. I'll see you for episode 3. Yeah, please like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and we will see you for another episode of whatever this is. Anyways, yeah. Bye for now. Yeah.